The male protagonist of this anime is the strongest support in the hero's team, but he can't fight alone, so he is despised by his teammates and is kicked out of the team, becoming the weakest D-rank adventurer in the village. But he never expects that when he starts his adventures alone, he meets a sexy and powerful princess and is forced to live with her. According to other anime, you will definitely think the male protagonist will soon reach the peak of his life and trample his former teammates who once despised him. But the male protagonist has other plans for his life. Now let's see this lighthearted and funny anime. Banished from the hero's party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. Before the story begins, let me introduce the setting of this anime. In this world, people are given a special power named Divine Blessing by the god. Each person has one blessing and a corresponding ability. For example, fighters have fighting abilities, while mages have magic power. The male protagonist, Rit, possesses a blessing named Guide, which is used for assisting his teammates but gives him weak combat power. Rit is originally a member of the hero's team, but one of his teammates, the mage Ares, thinks he is very weak and can't stay in the team, so he kicks Rit out of the team. In fact, Rit's dream is not to become a teammate of the hero to fight the demon lord, but to live an ordinary life. So after leaving the team, he comes to the border village where no one knows him. Since his blessing is Guide, he has a strong ability to survive in the wild and can easily identify most of the plants. Also, he is observant. In addition, long-term training in the hero's team allows him to have strong combat power. Although it is not as good as the rest of the hero's team, it is much stronger than ordinary adventurers. But he hides his true strength. So the strongest adventurer here, a B-rank adventurer Albert, looks down on the D-rank Red very much. Red has no interest in raising his adventurer rank, and his biggest dream is to open a medicinal herb shop. One night, Red's friend, an elf carpenter, suddenly asks him for help. The carpenter's son is seriously ill, but the doctor lacks a medicinal herb that can cure the disease. So he wants Red to help him pick the herb in the forest. Although monsters appear in the forest during this time, Red is not afraid, and he immediately agrees to the carpenter's request and enters the forest alone. Meanwhile, adventurers are fighting monsters in the forest, and they set fire to trees, causing some troubles for Red. Even unluckily, Red happens to meet that monster. However, he is able to defeat it easily and eventually gets medicinal herbs, with which the doctor successfully cures the carpenter's son. The carpenter is willing to do anything for Red in return, but Red only makes a simple request. 4 months later, another B-rank adventurer, Rit, passes by the village. She hears that a medicinal herb shop is about to open recently, and the manager is a very kind and gentle person who sounds like an old friend of hers. So Rit plans to visit the manager. The herb store is run by Red, and he asks the carpenter to help build a small house to make the storefront. The building materials are all bought by Red, but the carpenter does not charge any construction fees. The villagers love Red, and on the day the herb shop opens, everyone comes to congratulate him. Red is very touched, and this is the simple life he has always dreamed of. Soon Red meets his first guest, Rit, who was still a princess of a country when Red saw her last time. At that time, Demon Lord's army was attacking her country, and Red followed Hero's team against Demon Lord's army. Rit didn't want to be a princess and preferred to be an adventurer, so she often performed some scouting missions. As a guide, Red was also in charge of reconnaissance, so they acted together many times. Later, Rit was ambushed by Demon Lord's army, and it was Red who discovered the enemy's plot in time and saved Rit. The demon general who led the army can transform into different forms and had many arms. He was so powerful that even if Red and Rit joined forces, they still couldn't defeat him. But hero Rudy killed the demon general very easily. After experiencing this ambush, Rit had a psychological breakdown. Later, it was Red's comfort that made her strong again, and Rit had been deeply in love with him ever since. But then Red had to leave with the team and continue his crusade against Demon Lord. They never saw each other again. Rit decides to stay with Rit when she sees him again, so she offers to become an employee of the herb store. In fact, Red also likes Rit, so he agrees to her request. But Red doesn't expect that Rit decides to move everything into the herb store and live with him from then on. When he wakes up the next day, Red looks at the sexy Rit and instantly feels shy. Rit is also shy and excited. She doesn't expect that she will meet Red again, the man she has always loved. They then enter the city to apply for permission to sell medicines, and on the way, they see the carpenter's son attacked by an older child. Red stops the child and saves the carpenter's son. It turns out that the child is the son of the town officer, and he becomes very irritable after awakening his divine blessing. This is because divine blessing enhances the corresponding qualities. For example, divine blessing of the craftsman will make people become more eager to make things, and the mage's divine blessing will make people want to learn. The son of an officer may have awakened bar brawler's divine blessing, and if a person's nature is very similar to his divine blessing, he will gain more powerful abilities. For example, Rit's divine blessing is Spirit Scout, so she prefers to explore the outside world rather than stay in the castle as a princess. But Red believes that the nature of people depends on what they think, not the divine blessing. Then Red goes to the local government and applies to sell some new drugs at a herb store. But the process is not going well. Recently there is a drug that has strange side effects, which will make people very ecstatic and causes a lot of riots. Therefore, the government's approval of drugs has become more stringent. However, after assessment, the government still approves Red's application. Red's herb shop has been running well since then on, but the heroes team has a lot of problems. After Red's departure, they lose their way in the desert and become at odds with the local population. The martial artist in the team believes that this is all because of Red's departure. Although Ares falsely claims that Red leaves the team voluntarily, the martial artist is not convinced and is determined to get Red back. Hero Rudy agrees to let the martial artist go looking for Red, but she doesn't want to stop her crusade against Demon Lord and prefers to move on. Red and Rit are very satisfied with their ordinary and happy life. In contrast, Hero's team falls into crisis after Red's departure, and may even disband eventually. One of the reasons for this is that Hero Rudy is actually Red's sister. Rudy trusts Red deeply, which makes Ares very jealous. In addition, the team's combat strategy had always been decided by Red. Besides, Red would always take the initiative to perform the most dangerous work. When working with the hero team, Rit worried that Red would be in danger, but Red was always able to complete the most dangerous tasks safely. Rudy was actually very worried about him, but she rarely expressed these emotions. After Red left, Rudy fell into loneliness and boredom. At that time, after Ares told her the news of Red's departure, Rudy was so angry that she almost killed Ares. But Hero's divine blessing brought her to her senses and quickly cured Ares. Later, she continued her journey against Demon Lord, but in fact, Rudy was close to her breakdown. On this day, Red is chatting with the doctor when they suddenly hear some voices. They follow the sound to find a person who is unconscious from physical exhaustion. Red discovers that the man is frantically using all his physical strength because he is taking drugs that make people ecstatic. The doctor treats the comatose man with a medicinal herb and asks Red to prepare more of it. Red doesn't pay much attention to it, and he is going to go camping by the river with Rit today. When they come to the river, they all change into swimsuits. Red looks at Rit's figure and instantly feels very excited. Then they get close together, and finally, they kiss each other to confirm the relationship. After Red and Rit fall in love, they originally think that life would continue to be so happy and peaceful. But soon more people go crazy because of taking that ecstatic drug, and even some adventurers start randomly attacking passersby. Rit and Albert team up to stop these mad people. Soon after, another elf boy is attacked, and the person who attacks him this time turns out to be the son of the town officer. He not only attacks the elf boy but also wounds his parents, and then disappears. It is believed that the officer shelters his son and hides him. Tensions arise between angry citizens and the military, and may even lead to more intense clashes. In order to investigate the truth of the matter, Red asks the leader of the Adventurers Guild to permit him to assist in the investigation. After obtaining permission, Red meets the officer, but the officer's account is different from what Red knows. Not only does he not shield his son, but he does not even see him again after the incident. Also, the divine blessing of the officer's son is Bar Brawler, but it is said that he used an axe to attack. So the soldiers all think that it is the family of elves who lies. Red also thinks the officer is telling the truth, so he asks another question, that is, whether his son has used that ecstatic drug. Sure enough, the officer confirms that. After that, a mysterious man gives the elf boy a sword. Red identifies the sword and finds that the sword has a location spell attached to it. It seems that someone wants to track the location of the elf boy. At this time, the conflicts between the people and the army have become more and more intense, and rebellion could occur at any time. Clearly, some kind of conspiracy is behind all these. To find out the truth, Rit walks around with the sword. A group of mercenaries, mistaking Rit for the elf boy, suddenly attacks her. Rit easily defeats the group of mercenaries, and among them, there is a mercenary in disguise, who is actually an axe demon. Besides, these people seem to have guessed long ago that Rit would attract attacks with this method. They are prepared for this, and after Rit leaves, they find the elf boy and take him away. It turns out that the person who plans all this is the local criminal leader. He is not satisfied with his current position, so he decides to create a rebellion and then take the opportunity to seize power in the city. That medicine that can make people ecstatic is the potion made from Axe Demon's heart, the Devil's Blessing. This particular potion can make a person's blessing stronger, so it quickly spreads around. But the terrifying part is that people who take potions will awaken the Devil's Blessing of Axe Demons in addition to the original Divine Blessing, and they will become crazy once they touch the axe. After the leader of the criminals makes the officer's son take the medicine, he attacks the elf family with an axe. Now he intends to let the elf boy kill the officer's son in public so that he can completely trigger a rebellion. But the elf boy does not kill the officer's son, and he knows that the real enemy is the criminal leader. Then Red suddenly appears and rescues the two. Later, the criminal leader surrounds Red with his subordinates, one of whom is Albert. It turns out that the criminal leader has already been controlled by a demon, which is called Contract Demon. As long as people sign a contract with him, he can help people achieve wishes, but the methods of fulfilling wishes are not controllable. The criminal leader desires to take the entire city, so Contract Demon takes possession of his body and carries out the entire plan. Albert's Divine Blessing is the champion, and he will do everything possible to become the strongest hero, even willing to sign a contract with Contract Demon. He also wants to invite Red to team up with him, but Red has no interest in being the strongest, and he doesn't want to be a hero, so Red calls the army and leaves them to the soldiers. Unwilling to be defeated by ordinary soldiers, Albert chooses to attack the mighty Red. This time, Red cuts off Albert's right hand directly. After that, he tells Albert that the key to being a hero is not whether a person is strong, but whether what that person does is righteous. At the same time, the officer's son and the elf boy come to the crowd. The elf boy tells everyone that he forgives the officer's son, and that everything is the devil's conspiracy, asking them not to make wrong choices because of false hatred. After listening, the people finally calm down and the rebellion ends. At this moment, the elf boy is more like a hero. When Red gets home, he relaxes in the shower with Rit. After they become a couple, they become much closer than before, and they both enjoy their life now. After Contract Demon and Albert are arrested, one of Demon Lord's subordinates suddenly finds him. But not all demons are loyal to Demon Lord, and Contract Demon is the demon who hates Demon Lord. He changes into his real form and escapes with Albert. Meanwhile, Hero's party comes to ancient ruins where the weapons of the previous Demon Lord are hidden. Rudy easily defeats the giant guarding demon, and deep inside the ruins, she discovers an airship, which is the weapon of the legendary predecessor Demon Lord. With the airship, Rudy can quickly get to anywhere. Eventually, she takes the airship to leave and only takes one assassin teammate in charge of piloting with her. She finds a drug that suppresses the effects of Divine Blessing, and this drug is none other than the Devil's Blessing used by Contract Demon. But Contract Demon no longer has the medicine, and Rudy must find the alchemist who refines it. Coincidentally, her destination is exactly where Red is. Soon after, Rudy breaks into the prison and rescues the alchemist, who can create Demon's Blessing, but before that, they need to gather ingredients, so they go to the local medicinal herb shop to buy them. And in the end, Rit and Rudy meet. Rudy wants Red to return to Hero's team, but Red has lived the life he wants and is reluctant to leave with Rudy, who sympathizes with him and decides to stay at the border. However, Rudy's Divine Blessing will give her a sense of mission to defeat the Demon Lord, so she feels very uncomfortable after saying these words. That's also why she needs the Devil's Blessing, which can weaken the effect of Divine Blessing on feelings. However, the alchemist says that to make Devil's Blessing, he needs a professional workshop, but he is a prison escapee and cannot return to the city. At this time, it occurs to Rudy that there is an ancient ruins nearby that can be used as a workshop. Later, Red learns that Rudy took the Devil's Blessing, and he is worried that she will also become crazy due to side effects, so he offers to go to the ancient ruins with the alchemist. Halfway through, Red unexpectedly meets the martial artist, who has lost a hand. It turns out that on his way to find Red, he met the demon general who should have died, and he lost a hand in the fight. Meanwhile, the demon general turns into the martial artist and informs Ares of where Rudy goes. He intends to bring all the people who can stop Rudy to the ancient ruins. Soon Red comes to the ancient ruins, which is a building full of modern technology. The alchemist has been taken here and built a workshop. Rudy has regained many emotions under the influence of the demon's blessing. Besides, she says she doesn't suffer from side effects. Hero's Divine Blessing is immune to these side effects, so instead of awakening the Axe Demon's blessing, Rudy awakens a nameless new blessing. Everyone hears of the nameless blessing for the first time, and they don't know how it works. Ares also arrives at the ruins, and he wants Rudy to return to the team, but Rudy directly refuses him. At this time, the demon general changes into another person, and he tells Ares that deep in the ruins, there is also the legacy of the first hero. If Rudy encounters the legacy, the divine blessing will bring her back into the team. Not only Aries and the demon general, but also the martial artist, Albert, and another member of the hero's team, the female knight, also arrive at the ruins. The martial artist feels the aura of the demon general and quickly finds him, destroying his disguise. But he is stabbed by the demon general and is eventually defeated again. But Aries is not shocked, because he has already betrayed his companions. Then the demon general opens the treasure box of the ancient ruins, and there are 5 heroes' sacred blades inside. The demon general tells Aries that if he lets Rudy touch sacred blade, she will lose her emotions as Rudy and become a cold hero. So Aries fights Red and the others. Aries tries to let Rudy touch the sacred blade, but Rudy's attack directly destroys the sacred blade. The demon general and Aries instantly fall into despair, but at this moment, the female knight launches an attack on Rudy. It turns out that she also comes here to let Rudy return to the team. The female knight believes that no matter what Rudy thinks, she must first fulfill her duties as a hero, or no one will defeat the evil demon lord. Aries and the demon general take this opportunity to suddenly launch attacks, knocking Red and Rit into the falling elevator. Luckily, the martial artist is downstairs and he raises the elevator with his fists. Red and Rit are back on the floor where Rudy is. Aries also tries to attack Red with magic, but his hands are bound by the assassin with silk thread, so he cannot cast magic. Soon, Red cuts off Aries' hands with a slash. The demon general picks up the remaining sacred blades and launches an attack on Rudy, who easily defeats the demon general but completes her slash with the sacred blade. After touching the sacred blade, Rudy instantly loses her emotion and even wants to kill Red, because her feelings for Red will hinder her from defeating Demon Lord. The assassin rushes to Red, blocking Rudy's attack for him. Red instantly realizes that it is the sacred blade that makes Rudy out of control. He can't defeat Rudy, but he can hit away the sacred blade with all his strength. After that, Rudy recovers. She wants to heal the assassin, but after regaining her feelings, she is unable to use Divine Blessing skills anymore. At this time, the female knight steps forward to help. The assassin is her former teammate after all, so she heals the assassin's injuries. Although she still thinks Rudy should continue to perform her duties as a hero, she also knows that forcing Rudy to move on is not a good idea. And since Divine Blessing is God's reward, it would be nice to leave it to God to worry about who will defeat Demon Lord. After that, the female knight will continue to fight the demons with Albert, who has always wanted to be a hero, until the next hero appears. After a while, Rudy has become a hero who is completely unaffected by the Divine Blessing and gradually becomes an ordinary girl. Her nameless blessing also has its name, Truth, which can control other blessings, and Rudy suppresses Divine Blessing with the Truth Blessing. After healing his injuries, the martial artist also intends to continue fighting the demons, and Red's life returns to its usual peace. He and Rit are still very happy together, and they will do something to bring them closer every night. As for Rudy, she gradually adjusts to the border life, and sometimes she will use the hero's power to help those who are in trouble, while Red will prepare the food at home and wait for a return. That brings the end of this anime. The blessings in this anime are just like superheroes' superpowers. Interestingly, God will give each person different blessings according to their personality. If in reality, you also have the opportunity to get the blessings that match your characteristics, what blessings do you want? For me, rather than getting a blessing, I would like to have the same courage as Red's that allows me to jump out of my comfort zone and insist on being myself. I think this is the real hero. Well, today's video ends here. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I will make more excellent anime recaps afterward. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.